אשרי האיש אשר לא הלך בעצת רשעים, ובדרך חטאים לא עמד, ובמושב לצים לא ישב. כי אם בתורת אדוני חפצו, ובתורתו יהגה יומם ולילה. והיה כעץ שתול על פלגי מים, אשר פריו ייתן בעתו, ועלהו לא ייבול, וכל אשר יעשה יצליח. לא כן הרשעים כי אם כמוץ אשר תדפנו רוח, על כן לא יקומו רשעים במשפט, וחטאים בעדת צדיקים, כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים ודרך רשעים תאבד. Call up Zachary Rose, his grandson, to read this chapter 1 of the book of Psalms in English.
The praises of a man are that he did not follow the counsel of wicked, neither did he stand in the ways of sinners, nor sit in the company of scorners. But his desire is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be as a tree planted beside rivulets of water, which brings forth its fruit in its season, and its leaves do not wilt, and whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked, but they are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not stand in judgment, nor shall the sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall perish.
Thank you. מזמור לדוד, אדוני מי יגור באוהליך, מי ישכון בהר קודשך, הולך תמים ופועל צדק, ודובר אמת בלבבו. לא רגע ללשונו, לא עשה לרעהו רעה, וחרפה לא נשא על קרובו. נבזה בעיניו נמאס, ותראה אדוני יכבד. נשבע להרע ולא ימיר, כספו לא נתן בנשך, ושוחד על נקי לא לקח. עושה אלה לא ימות לעולם. מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בנוז דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינעלני, נפשי שובב ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך עמי נחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, נשענת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה, אך טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Call up his grandson Jacob Schlesinger to lead us with chapter 22 in the book of Psalms.
A Song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures, he leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul, he leads me in path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all of the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days.
The Apple family I know for over 20 years. First I met Rab and Steffi and their children, Danny, Marissa and Jillian. Then I met your parents, Sheldon and Marlene. Marlene cannot be here today because of her health situation. Then I met, over the years, I met the sisters, Jill and Dan and their children, Zachary and Jamie, and Susan, Mark, and their children, Jacob, Carly, and Kyle, and the brother, Leslie. I must tell you, when I was sitting with the whole family on Monday night, everybody was there. I mean, Leslie was not there, but the kids, the grandchildren were all there. And I saw the love and the warmth that was in the room. And I was thinking to myself that Sheldon fulfilled his dream. That was exactly what he imagined, and that's what he worked all his life, to have a loving family where everybody gets along, nice, warm, good people, with a strong Jewish identity. I believe that many people, I would say even most of the people, fulfill their dreams. The only problem is you don't dream too far. But if you would just dream enough, you would fulfill it. I remember your father, and he used to come to shul as Rab used to, when he started to lead services by us on Shabbat, and many times also when he used to do his bar mitzvah parsha, it's Parshat Noach, Bet Hanan. And your father used to come there and sit and just just have so much naches. I'm so proud of you. But it wasn't just because you were performing. He really enjoyed Judaism. He enjoyed to go to synagogue. He enjoyed services. Every time when I met him, he was so excited to be there. And for a while, for a long time, he used to come almost every Shabbat. He used to come a lot, joining you for services. As I learned from you guys, that it started when he started to say Kaddish for his father. His father died when he was 81, almost the same age as he passed away. He's 82. And he started to go to say Kaddish for his father, and he rediscovered his love to Judaism, to services, to everything that's connected. And since then, he started to attend services on a regular basis. He used to go to Bichut Kehillah, he used to go to Menorah Park to volunteer, he used to take the other people, other elderly who wanted to attend services that needed to be wheeled from the rooms to the synagogue there. He used to go there and help to bring them to synagogue and join them for services. But Yiddishkeit was not important to him only after his father passed away. I believe it was important to him much more before that. It was a new opportunity. As you mentioned to me that you used to call your Erev Yom Kippur to make sure you're shlogging kaporas. It's an expression that very few people even know it in Yiddish. And he used to drive you crazy until he made sure it's being done. Judaism believes that the name of the person, Kabbalah tells us that the Jewish name of the person tells a lot, describes the person, tells a lot about the person. Your father's Hebrew name was Shmuel Aaron. Shmuel is named, the original Samuel is in the Bible, the prophet Samuel. What we know many stories about him, but the first story that we know about him, that his mother, Hannah, was praying for him. She could not have children for many years, and she prayed for her child. She went to the temple to pray for him, and finally, after many years, she had this child, Samuel. Your father was born to your grandparents, who got married later in life, 31 or 32. At that time, what was considered later in life. Today, it's considered too early, maybe. And your father was the firstborn son, and until Leslie came, it was 8 years later. Then for 8 years, he was it. He was everything. That he was the special child that the parents were waiting for. He was the tachshit of the family. And that he was just like Samuel. But not only in this sense, he was like the prophet Samuel. The Bible tells us that right before the prophet Samuel, before he died, the Jewish people told them, let's appoint a king for the Jewish people. And Samuel was a little insulted because he was the leader. And you want somebody else? That he called them together and he asked them, tell me, did I ever took anything from you? What do you have against me? I never robbed anybody. I never charged anyone an extra cent. I never used you. I never asked you to do me a favor, nothing. And I was thinking about your father. That was the person. He never wanted to burden anybody. He never wanted to ask from anybody a favor. God forbid somebody will do something for him. So much so that when he fell and was laying on the floor, he didn't call for help because he didn't want to bother anybody. This is a first for me. But he never fell really. He slipped. He only fell off and he slipped out of the bed. He just slipped. He never fell really. He never could admit that he actually fell. His second name was Aaron. Aaron, the Mishnah, the in Ethics of Our Father, tells about the original Aaron from the Bible, that he was Oev Shalom, he was a man who loved peace, pursued peace, loves people, and brings them closer to the Torah. Your father was a man who loved peace, pursued peace, loved people, and therefore people loved them. It goes both ways. And he worked in the same firm. He was the owner of the same firm for so many years. People worked for him for many years. And as I mentioned to you, a son of somebody who worked for him, actually a member of our congregation, Barry Garvin, told me that he was speaking so highly about about your father, that it's not only the work his employees spoke great about him, the children of employees, many years later, didn't stop praising him. And he told me that a while ago when he heard that your father is sick, he spoke to me. I heard about it. I told him yes. And then he told me the stories. This is just like Aaron, the high priest. It's written when Aaron passed away, there were thousands of Jewish children in the Jewish community then who were named Aaron because everybody loved them. And the whole nation mourned Aaron more than Moses because he was a man who always greeted people, took care of people. And as yesterday, Mark, I think it was Mark who told me that when your father wanted to buy a car, he told them, let me negotiate. I'll go there and negotiate with them. I'll get for you a better deal. He says, no, don't do me these favors. I need to see them later. I need to go for service there. I want to be good with them. He was thinking farther away. He had a vision. One of the things that really connected with me was you mentioned that when the grandchildren were born, either were born, they're very small, he was afraid to hold the babies. Maybe they'll fall off. And I must tell you, I can connect to it. I was afraid to hold my children when they were born. And I had more children than he had. We're going to read this Saturday, we're going to read in the synagogue about the passing of Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're going to conclude the book of Genesis. And when it's written about the death of Jacob, that's the word death is not written by Jacob. It's written Jacob expired. Abraham died, Isaac died, Jacob didn't die, he expired. The Talmud points out, what do you mean expired? Talmud says Jacob never died. Then right away, the other Talmudic scholar that heard that said, what do you mean he never died? Was a funeral? Was eulogies? Was burial? What do you mean never died? The Talmud says something amazing. As long as the children are alive, he will be alive. The same is true about the children, the grandchildren. As long as the children and the grandchildren will continue to continue the Jewish tradition, what it was so important to your grandfather, it was so dear to him, as long as you continue in your grandfather's way, your grandfather Sheldon will continue to be alive forever. תהי נשמתו צרורה בצרור החיים. And now we live from his children.
We'd like to thank everyone for coming out on this beautiful day. My dad hated the cold, but I think he's playing a joke on all of us because that's what he does. Unfortunately, my mom couldn't be here. My dad was the most uncontroversial. He was the most uncontroversial person I ever knew. He didn't want to bother anybody. He never asked for help. And like the rabbi said, even at Menorah Park, when he needed more help, he usually tried to do everything himself. He never complained. He never argued with anybody. And if he ever did find himself in some kind of argument, he ended it quickly. Growing up, I don't ever remember my parents arguing all that much. If my mom got mad at my dad, he usually said, "You're right," and that was the end of it. And I'm sure my wife wishes that I was more like him. I wish I was more like him. Some people would say that he wasn't a strong person because of all this. But I think that was his biggest strength, and he was stronger than all of us. He was also an extremely loyal person. He didn't like change all that much. He lived in the same house for over 50 years, worked at the same firm for over 50 years, and of course he was married to my mom for over 60 years. He was a great dad, papa, brother, son, and friend. And growing up, he never said no to any of us. Maybe he did say no the time I wanted to get my ears pierced, but I went to 3 different schools, transferred a couple times, and they never even questioned it. They let me pick and choose wherever I wanted to go. When Susan came home after 1 quarter and said, "I'm not going back to Ohio State," they drove her in a snowstorm to Ithaca the next week. And even when Jill put a hole, very small, 4-foot gaping hole in the garage with his Cadillac, he didn't even get mad. He gave us everything. He never met a belt, a pair of shoes, a pair of pants, and especially a watch he didn't like. If he liked a belt, shoes, or pants, he bought the same one in every color they made. He even bought the same size and the same color. I don't know why. And he loved his watches. He had several nice, expensive watches, rare ones, but he hardly ever wore them. He loved the knockoffs, the fake Rolexes, the fake Breitlings, any knockoff he can get his hands on. He would even spend several $100s to get a really good fake watch. I used to ask him if that was a real fake. Whenever any of us went to New York City, he would send us to Canal Street to get him another one. And of course, as soon as you brought it home and he put it on, within minutes, the second hand would fall off, the crown would break, the strap would break, and then he'd go and he'd spend looking around for someone to fix him, and he'd spend hundreds of dollars to get him fixed, and much more than the cost of the watch itself. His clients loved him. They trusted him. He was honest. We share some of the same clients, and they always ask me, "How's your dad doing?" And a lot of them always say that he was the nicest person they ever met, and he was.
Sheldon Apple, Shelly Apple, what a nice guy. That's what people always say. "Oh, Sheldon's your father? He's such a nice guy." And you know what? He was. Always had a smile on his face, and he truly enjoyed life. He worked hard his whole life, from a teenager to an adult. He went to night school and high school so he could work during the day at May Company in the men's department. He worked on commission and sold underwear, socks, and ties. He was so aggressive that he sold enough underwear, socks, and ties that he could buy a car for himself in high school. And then he bought another car a year after. And that's a lot of underwear to sell. He then went to Kent and continued to work for May Company. And then he went on to Cleveland Marshall Law and worked for his entire career at Lewis A. Blue and Associates.
My dad loved his cars. He used to take meticulous care of his cars. He used to wash them in the middle of the winter in the garage. He put in a wall heater in the garage so the locks wouldn't freeze. He used to park them far, far away from other cars. Robbie used to say he never realized there was parking at the Browns Stadium because we parked so far away. There was one time we went to the Browns game. He parked what seemed like miles away, and when we came back to the car, all the hubcaps were gone. The only one allowed to eat in the car was Bernie. Bernie was my parents' dog, and as Zachary would say, could do no wrong. All 3 of them, my mom, my dad, and Bernie, would go to Dunkin' Donuts every day and they would each get a bagel. My mom, my dad, and Bernie. And the mess that Bernie made in this car was incredible, but that was okay.
He and Marlene were a really fun pair. The stories we heard of what they did back in the day shocked us. He loved his liquor, his vacation, and the sun. He loved traveling with Marlene. He loved to go to Acapulco and haggling with the vendors. He was known as Senor Manzana, Mr. Apple. They loved to shop and shop and shop. My dad, the sale rack, my mom, not so much. Whenever she went to Nordstrom, she would come home with packages and say, "Don't tell your dad." And we'd say, "But he pays your bills." She goes, "It doesn't matter, just don't tell him." And you know what? He never said no. Not to my mom. In June, we celebrated their 61st wedding anniversary. My dad was such a devoted brother, friend, and son. He was always there for his parents, and he was a great role model for us. He taught us to treasure and respect our parents. We saw how he took care of his parents, of our grandparents, and hopefully we took care of him the same way. He was an amazing grandfather. His grandchildren were his everything. They would go, "Hi, Papa, how do you feel?" He'd say, "With my hands." He goes, "Hi, Papa, how'd you sleep?" "In a bed." "Hi, Papa, what's new?" He'd say, "New York, New Jersey, neurotic." His bad jokes were limitless. The grandchildren remember Papa as the man who had always melted Swedish fish in the trunk of his car because he stored them there in August. He was a gadget man and was always willing to eat anything off your plate at a restaurant because he only ordered a baked potato.
When it got too hard for him to be home, it was finally time for him to go to Menorah Park. This was not the way he wanted to spend his retirement, but he made the best of it. You could hear as we wheeled him down the hall, "Hi, Shelley. How you doing, Shelley? Are we going to watch the Kardashians tonight, Shelley?" The care he received at Menorah Park was unparalleled. For that, we will be forever grateful. Unbeknownst to my dad, by his living at Menorah Park, he did his family a great favor. He brought us all closer together, if that was even possible. For 6 years, we, the 3 kids, our spouses, and whatever grandchildren were around, would spend every Saturday sitting at Menorah Park reminiscing, and every Sunday we would take over Pearl's, the snack shop at Menorah Park, and have breakfast or lunch. And there was a time when the 3 of us were out of town, and all the grandchildren that were here went to Menorah Park and took their grandparents to lunch. From generation to generation, there is no greater lesson that we could teach our children. Dad, we hope that you are as proud of all of us as we are of you. Thank you, Dad, for being such a wonderful role model, amazing father, and all-around great guy. We will take care of Mom, spend time with her at Menorah Park, but it won't be the same without you.
Kyle? One second.
O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as the resplendence of the firmament, to the soul of Shmuel, our own Ben Yaakov, who is gone to his supernal world for charity, has been donated in remembrance of his soul. May his place of rest be in Gan Eden, therefore may the all-merciful one shelter him with the cover of his wings forever, and bind his soul in the bond of life. The Lord is his heritage, may he rest in his resting place in peace, and let us say, Amen.
Please rise for the memorial service. Stay. אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, אמצי מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה. במעלות הקדושים וטהורים כזר המלכי המזהירים, את נשמת שמואל אהרון בן יעקב שהלך לעולמו, בעבור שאנחנו מתפללים בעד הזכרת נשמתו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן. You may be seated. The service will continue to Mount Aleph Cemetery, and then the family will receive Shiva, will receive the resident of Mr. Of Dan and Susan Ross, and 24809 Meldon Boulevard in Beechwood. And today until 8 o'clock, Friday from 11 to 2, Saturday from 7 to 9, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday from 3 to 6 and from 7 to 9. We'll have a Minche Mariv service at the Shiva on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 5 o'clock.